been in what's been called negotiations, although it hasn't really been honest negotiations. So we're out on strike because of health and safety issues as well as unfair labor practices. That's what the strike is called for, health and safety and unfair labor practices. They haven't really have any attempt to negotiate in good faith and in good favor, but the person that was hired to be their lead negotiator, Tom Fox, is known for forcing unions and forcing people into strike situations. So that's why we are officially on strike, is for health and safety issues and for unfair labor practices. So now we have in front of us some of our employees that are employees of course for BART themselves. We have Anthony, what's your last name? Geddins. We have Sylvia Young and Keith over here. And introduce yourself. Jen. Okay, so yeah, we're out here. We're just regular people that are doing what we feel we have to do. We have families to support. We have bills to pay like everyone else. We've got all kind of people impacted by this strike. We certainly empathize with the inconvenience that is placed on, you see, the commuters. We feel like this doesn't have to take place. It didn't have to transpire, but we understand that this is something that BART management does on a consistent basis at the end or every 4 years or 3 years when a contract ends, that there always are issues, and our only real power to make a stand is to threaten with the strike. Hopefully we never have to go on strike, but here we are again, once again, that we've had to walk out to make a stand, to stand up for issues that we think are very important. Of course, we are, the main issues are our pension, takeaways, you know, the safety of the employees. We've got station agents, female station agents that are being assaulted. It's been brought out that 5 of the stations have, in the last several months, over some 2,000 crimes that are at the level where they need to be reported to the FBI or whatever the higher things there are. So we certainly understand that the impact that it has on the commuters. We don't wish for this. We desire that these things could be resolved at the negotiating table, but as it's been brought out and as it's been stated and reiterated on several occasions, that their intent has never been to negotiate. So that's why we're out here, unfair labor practices as well as health and safety issues. The wages that have been reported that we're making, I don't know anybody who's making what I've heard. A gentleman asked me earlier today, I understand you guys make $147,000. It's not uncommon for BART management to put out so much misinformation that it's almost impossible to see the common person to really know what's going on. And that is unfair within itself. BART does a lot of mudslinging, especially during the time of contract negotiation, when the contract talks are on the table. So they haven't exercised or demonstrated any real intent on negotiating. I was looking at the news last night, and the newscaster had inquired with Rick Ross about contacting the union. He says that as far as he knows, they contacted them, and the interviewer said, well, they said they contacted you and they haven't heard from you. And he said, well, I'll find out. I'm not sure. I'll call them. So it's just a lot of things that are going on. But we're just regular working class people like everyone else that's over here waiting on the bus to catch a bus to get to San Francisco or wherever it is they need to go. A lot of these people would be catching the train at this time, but they've been forced into this, which is totally unfair to them, that every 3 or 4 years that they have to face this type of inconvenience, the possibility of this type of inconvenience for who knows how long, you see, because BART, board of directors, and those that be in the upper management level and responsible for these type of negotiations do not anticipate and work on, the fact that this would not be occurring. So that's why we're out here, health and safety issues as well as unfair labor practices. They haven't demonstrated, they've demonstrated in the news, you see, in public opinion negotiations, but it hasn't been at the table. So this is something that we don't want to do. It's the only option that we have, and so therefore we've been forced into taking this stand. We hope that it doesn't go too long. We hope that it could end today, but the reality is that we're going to have to be out here to take a stand. It's not just us that I understand that this will affect, but it affects every worker that has to get up in the morning and go to a job somewhere in the Bay Area, somewhere throughout this nation. This is larger than just BART employees and somebody thinking that the wages that they make are too much. We're living during a time where the wage that you think we make, which may be too much to somebody, but certainly not a lot to someone like Dorothy Duger, who received a year's salary of over some $300,000, as well as, I understand, close to $1 million to ask her to leave, and then her vacation, which was some $900,000. Now, when you compare salary like mine or anyone else over here that's making, you see, just minimum wage compared to someone like her, you see, it's just totally out of context. So we understand that. We understand that, a win for us is a win for not just us, but it's for everyone else that has to get up and leave their families and go work a job and come back with a wage, and it's barely making it. You understand? Gallon of gas is $4.30. A loaf of bread is $4. That's $10. $9.50, and on a wage of $14. It's just ridiculous. You have Anthony here. Anthony, you have a family? Yes. How many in your family? 4 people in your family. Now, do you work a lot of overtime?
Work overtime.
Do you have to work overtime to supplement what BART is paying? Sylvia, you are a single mom. I know that you have been working at BART for how long?
27 years.
You've been here 27 years, okay? And do you have to supplement your income in other ways?
Yes.
Right. And the general opinion of your friends and acquaintances, etc., is that you make pretty good money at BART.
They think that I have a lot of money, but what I find very, very ironic is management is reporting our salaries, our hourly wages, but they're not reporting their own. They make triple what we make. Last contract, the spokesperson reported that we made $40 an hour. And he asked the public, would you like to make $40 an hour? I wanted to ask him would he like to make $40 an hour. His answer would have been no, because that would have been a substantial pay cut for him.
Okay. So, right. It all depends on the eye of the beholder. Now, this is Keith. Keith, you've been at BART how long?
17 years.
You've been here 17 years.
And it's just time for a raise. 8 years with no increases. giving back to the people as BART requested that we do in times of economic downturns. And they turn around and give themselves, after we receive nothing, 5 and 6% each one of the contracts.
Not uncommon.
And
Not uncommon
it's just time to have a fair practice and an increase for those folks that do have families and anyone that's just trying to survive here in the Bay Area.
Right.
You can only give back so much before there's no more to give, and at some point you need to receive something in order to be able to give something.
Now I understand that. I know that BART is nonprofit. That's what it's supposed to be. Yet the books are always should be open to anyone to scrutinize or take a look at. And I know on every contract, after we sign a contract, and they've claimed not to have any money available for paying any increases, that we've consistently seen, as soon as the contract is signed, that management will always, you can check your history books on this, they have always come back and given themselves an increase of wages and found money that they claimed that they didn't have.
Yeah, along with the surpluses that they show up with immediately after contracts are signed and have nothing to really do with the money, so they take surveys to figure out what do you and how do you spend the money that they apparently didn't have, but all of a sudden it comes up to the forefront.
Yeah,
it's just
a lot of
unfair
waste
tactics.
that goes on with BART and the way that they spend. There really should be some kind of accountability, which I understand there should be, or there is, but it certainly doesn't seem like it's being exercised. Some kind of accountability for the way that they spend the money that they are, the revenue that comes into BART. It certainly seems to be a lot of application of the monies and revenues that BART takes in. It's unheard of the way that they can waste money on certain things and projects and so forth and so on. Keith, you were talking earlier about the Dublin extension, that there was 6 million, I understand.
Those extensions that the West Dublin, and someone had to pay for that metal that didn't match up with Caltrans specs, and BART somehow found a way to
we haven't
cover
heard
that.
About
and,
it. Know that it was.
It was covered. It had to be
covered.
replaced. Caltrans wouldn't allow that those structures to be put up. They were remade and they were redone, and BART paid for them.
And that's all coming from a non-profit corporation that's not for profit, yet the fare boxes are being paid for, these things are being paid for out of the fare boxes, etc., and the federal government, which gives money, of course, to BART. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that BART is never disclosing, and that you'll have to do a little bit of investigating to really get to the bottom of it. So the bottom line is that during these times, there's a lot of mudslinging that BART does towards its own employees, which quite truthfully is very discouraging, yet I've become accustomed to it since the 23 years that I've been here. So it's not uncommon, and it's just something that is a part of the show now. And just something that goes on. But just for those, the public out here, we want you to know that we very much sympathize and understand what an inconvenience we certainly wouldn't want to have to endure it ourselves. Yet everybody has to endure something. Right now we're enduring days off without being paid. And if this goes on, however long it goes on, those will be days that we don't get paid. We certainly do feel like, I think everybody here agrees, that any gains that we make, we're just working class people, you see, that are trying to make ends meet, and we're not certainly living in any extravagant lifestyles or lives. We're just working class people that are trying to take care of our families and take care of ourselves. And we hopefully hope that you understand that any win here for us is also a benefit for all people that are working class people. So, you know, wish us luck. You see, and if you have some issues and complaints, we think that you need to call the board of directors directly, BART general manager, and those you see in the upper ranks of BART that have the ability and the power to
remind your board of directors.
speak up.
Remind your board of directors that you are one of their constituents and that you voted for them. And just like you voted them in, if they aren't doing their job, they will be voted out. They need to be reminded of that. I think a lot of the board of directors they're not really serious. They're just using this as a stepping stone. No, as a stepping stone.
Sure.
They may have other political aspirations. So this is just something to put on their resume. I was on the board of directors.
Exactly.
And then they go to the next, higher up political platform. And they're not really, they don't care. They indicate that in their meetings. When we get up to speak, they're having side conversations, they're walking around, they're not paying any attention. They're bored. And they need to realize, BART needs to realize that the mission of BART is to transport passengers from point A to point B. That's all the passengers want. They're not concerned about who's up in the office. They want the train operators to move the trains. They want the station agents opening the trains. They want the system service workers keeping the areas clean. That's what they want. And it seems like BART doesn't realize that we are what BART is about. They're supporting us. And they're treating us like crap. And they can't just pull anybody off the street in here because we've had
You have to be trained to operate the train. Specialized training, yeah.
Well, let's be fair. As long as you don't want any increases in your wages, I'm going to give you a sheet of paper that says you do a great job. The fact is, I love the job that you do as long as you don't want any wages increased. But if you need something else to support your family, then I can't really help you with that. I gave you a sheet of paper telling you how nice of a job that you've done. And we've seen that from the general managers. The sheets of papers are real nice.
Or a sheet
fact is, I should have one of those to hang up right now for you to say how good of a job I did, but as long as you want a little bit more pay to support things and live in the Bay Area, it's not going to happen at all.
The common practice around here for general managers is I would think probably 3 or 4 years tops.
They're vested after 2 years.
They're vested after 2 years, so their interest is really in being vested. So we have a lot of, not a lot, but pretty much every general manager that comes through here has a goal of being vested. That means they get full retirement benefits after 2 years. Now, for any worker, working class person throughout the Bay Area and the nation, it certainly isn't 2 years you're fully invested or vested in a company. So that within itself is something that generates a certain mindset of individuals, and these are people that are running the company and in charge. So that's something within itself that is unfair of a labor practice and creates a certain type of mindset and a certain type of individual to come and take advantage of something like that. So, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot of things to look at. Of course, we know that the majority don't know what's really going on behind the scenes and behind the mudslinging. So,
well, keep in mind that the average BART worker that has been here for at least the last 2 contracts has given. They've given not only to BART, but they've given to the Bay Area as well as just the world as a whole. During the worst economic times, they actually took contracts with 0 percentages. So at some point, you have to restore something back to those folks that have received nothing in the last 2 contracts.
That's 8
and
years,
at least
4-year contracts.
2 4-year contracts apiece, 8
and before
years.
that, another 4-year where it was very minimum increases, which is, within itself, something.
But you have to restore to that worker. You have to give something back to that worker. You can't just keep asking that worker and riding on the back of that worker that has.
You know what? They're behaving like they're.
And that's one of the things. Pardon me for cutting you off. That's one of the things that was pretty much discussed or mentioned in previous contracts. Is we can't take care of you now, but we'll take care of you in the future. The economic times right now are pretty tough, so therefore you help us out, take no wage increases, which is something that we've done in the past. So, all right.
Yeah, but each one of those 2 contracts, which equaled 8 years, the BART board that was in session at that time gave themselves 5 and 6% raises when we received nothing. But that's always a short-lived memory, and the media tends to forget all of that too. That our board members took raises when we received nothing.
Well, they have James Mang. He said, "I want to screw the workers." That's what he said.
He said what?
I want to screw the workers. That's what he said.
He's a board of directors.
Yeah.
Yeah, make that clear.
And what they're doing is akin to BART is a pimp and it's whores. We're out here making the money. They're taking all the money and we're getting nothing. They're telling us they're taking care of us, just like a pimp would tell a whore. I'll supply all your needs, but give us all your money. And that's what they're doing. They're taking all of our money and we're out here doing the work. They also always talk about, oh yeah, we make all this money on overtime, but they never have said that a lot of people who work a lot of overtime, a lot of them have been carried out of here in ambulances because you're just so exhausted. And people have gotten sick on the job. And in this Bay Area, you never know what people's family situations are. They have to come out here and work. Like Raymond said, none of us are living any extravagant lifestyle. None of us have big palatial homes and stuff. We all live in working class neighborhoods. We're all driving regular cars. When our cars break down, we got a problem. Like, how are we going to get to work and how much is the repair going to cost? I know every time I go to Safeway, every week I go to Safeway, if I buy the same items, every week my bill is $20 higher. If it was $100 last week, next week same items is $120, next week is $140. It just keeps going up, 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 and up.
Well, everything's increasing around the Bay Area, but our salaries haven't. And we have to begin to move forward on that. And the 1% and 2% that they're offering is just not adequate. It's not even a cost of living increase, which is basically around 3%. So you're not even starting at the minimum that would be a fair raise. You know what I'm saying? To work your way up from there. And again, we're coming off of 8 years, 2 contracts with nothing. So
and then you go from 8 years of what our ridership was on a daily basis, and 8 years ago to what it is now. There's no way in the world that's going to hurt BART because the ridership is up almost 100,000 from 8 years ago or whatever, and that's just revenue. That BART can't say anything about. Why you can't just turn that revenue over to your employees? So
every day.
Well, it's not that BART doesn't have money. It's just that BART doesn't want to pay the workers anything. They'd rather use the money elsewhere where they choose, rather than to give a fair contract and an increase to the workers. All of this was very unnecessary. They knew this time and date was coming, and it's just time that stand up and be accounted for.
I think one of the things that everyone needs to keep in mind is that we live in a capitalist society. The capitalist society we live in, 20% of the people control 80% of the population. So it's not uncommon for it to be that way. It's just the way that the system is, that you try to have those that are working for you work for less than they are really worth, or than at minimum that you want to pay. So we're in a fight, and we know we're in a fight. And like I have said before, and will reiterate, on many occasions, that this is not just a fight for BART employees, but this is a fight for everyone throughout the nation that's a working class citizen, working class person. You see, we understand that 20% of the population control 80% of the people. So it's not that the monies aren't available for the pensions, for the decent wage increase, etc. But it's just the way that it operates. So it's always going to be a fight as long as this is the system that we're operating in. I think that's one of the key things that people need to keep in mind, is that you don't look at what the wage that is being per se discussed, but look at what is operating. It's a simple fact that I don't want to pay you any more than what I'm paying you because of the way things are structured. Basically a pyramid, small percentage on top making, you can see, excessive amounts of money, and the majority on the bottom creating that pyramid or being the foundations for that. So we're just out here fighting like anybody else would fight for a wage when you go one-on-one with your employer or your boss to negotiate an increase for yourself individually. You see, so like I said, no one out here is living in an extravagant lifestyle, driving any extravagant cars or homes or anything like that. Yeah, boats in the harbor, no, none of that stuff. I mean, we've got just what everyone else is, barely enough for to get by. And truth be told, we're 1 or 2 paychecks away from being homeless. You see, they could absolutely put us, living here on the streets where we're talking right now in 3 or 4 months.
That's what they said they wanted to do, keep us out until we starve.
And it could certainly happen. We can certainly end up without a job, without any income, and on the streets. And then we're like the majority of, or a large percentage of the nation that has already experienced or gone through that, as well as losing homes and jobs and so forth and so on. So our stand is not just for ourselves. I can't stress that enough. Our stand is not just for ourselves. A win here is a win for everyone. We understand AC Transit is out of contract and negotiated. We understand that, and appreciate that they're moving people. This is our community. We're all one community. So we understand people still have to get to where they go. But when do you take a stand? How do you take a stand without impacting anyone? It's impossible. It's impossible to take a stand, to make a stand without impacting. Hopefully this betters everyone, and until then, you see, we are here. So thank you for your time, your attention. We hope that you will support us and, give a call to your board of directors. Put some pressure on them to resolve this thing and to resolve it fairly.
Hard workers, we're making a better America. Thank you.